The Philadelphia 76ers have a new big three in town, and the MLB 2022 season will be officially delayed after the owners and players organization could not come to an agreement. All that coming to you on Sports Talk Philadelphia. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sports Talk Philadelphia. I'm your host for another episode, Caleb Flieger, and we have a full panel today as I'm joined by my co-producer, Aiden Tusinski. Aiden, how are we doing today?
Doing well, especially after that Sixers win last night.
We have Matt Dorenzo back for another episode.
I'm
Matt?
doing well. Good to have you back.
And we have a new panelist on the episode today, Aiden Davis-Diaz.
Yeah.
Aiden, how are we doing?
I'm glad to be here.
Great. So we're going to jump right into it. We're going to jump into some Philadelphia 76ers talk, as it's been pretty good with the first three games with James Harden. As the Sixers have a new big three in town pretty much, as Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, Joel Embiid have been very good together recently. I mean, first game they played together, 89 combined points against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Games 2 and 3, second one, 87 combined points against the New York Knicks. And then game 3 again, 78 combined points again against the New York Knicks. 3-0 with the acquisition of James Harden, exactly what Philadelphia 76ers fans wanted to see. And even if you look deeper into it, the big three last three games, Embiid, 32.7 points per game, shooting 47% from the field. James Harden, 27.3 points per game, 12.3 assists, and 9 rebounds. And Tyrese Maxey averaging 25 points per game over the last three. Before the James Harden acquisition, Tyrese Maxey was averaging 16 points per game. So a big increase in productivity with James Harden on the court. And I just want to open up to you guys. What are your overall thoughts so far on the James Harden acquisition?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing out of this entire acquisition is how much the productivity of Tyrese Maxey has increased. I think that there was a huge question mark about whether he'd be the 3 or 4 best player when you're looking for a scoring option. He's clearly the 3. I'm so tired of NBA analysts right now saying that Tobias Harris has to be the 3 in order for the Sixers to win. I think it's ridiculous. I think that Tyrese Maxey has some of the best energy out of an NBA player. I think him at the shooting guard has really shown his scoring productivity and also shown how athletic he is.
I mean, yeah, I'm stoked. Those 3 wins were awesome. Watching that game on Friday night against Timberwolves, the atmosphere, well, just watching as a fan from TV, that was probably the most anticipated game in a long time in Philadelphia. And we all know Embiid and Harden are amazing. But I really love the high play of Maxey. Coming off Harden as a guard, the duo, we all know Embiid and Harden were a dynamic duo, but Tyrese Maxey out of nowhere. 25 points in the last 3 games. James Harden with a triple-double. I mean, this couldn't have gone better for the first start with the Sixers.
I mean, I think the biggest thing to look at is the ball movement and the pace of the Sixers right now. We are moving way faster, similar to when we had Ben Simmons. Also, Maxey is shooting 40% from 3 right now. And I think the biggest thing is that Tobias Harris, paired with James Harden, is going to have a lot more catch-and-shoot situations. Instead of catching and dribbling, driving, getting tough jumpers, he's going to have a lot more standstill, catch-and-shoot threes, and I think his three-point percentage is going to go way up.
Yeah, you saw Tobias Harris, even last night in the New York Knicks games. You saw Doc Rivers implemented a lot of screen and roll action for Tobias Harris. Like you said, Aiden, a lot of catch and shoot type scenarios, and he succeeded last night. He had a very good game last night versus the first 2 games in the rotation. So obviously just a very good start for the Sixers lineup overall. I think they're playing a lot better than a lot of people expected at first. I mean, it looks like this team has been playing together for the first half of the season. I mean, it's only been 3 games and they're looking this good together. I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity to come in the next few weeks here heading to the postseason. I do want to talk about, this may be a little early, but the first 3 games of Embiid and Harden has just pretty much lit the NBA world on fire pretty much. I mean, just the dominance that they've had over these last 3 games. I mean, shot 37 free throws combined on Sunday versus the Knicks. They're averaging 61 points per game together. I mean, that is just obviously one of the best duos that you can have in the NBA. And I want to open it up. Do you guys think this is the best duo in the Eastern Conference right now?
I have to say so. When I think of duos in the Eastern Conference, you got to think of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, but they rarely ever play together. Jimmy Butler and Bam has been there for the past few years, but Bam can't stay healthy. And then DeMar DeRozan and either Zach LaVine or if you throw in Nikola Vucevic. But still, I do think just in 3 games together, they look like Caleb said. They've been together all year. They look like they've been veterans for the past 5 years together running an offense, and I think it's just been beautiful to watch, and I can't wait to see what they do the rest of the season.
I don't really think you can compare Joel Embiid and James Harden to anybody else in the NBA. I think the only comparison that you could make is Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, but Jamal Murray's been out, what, a year and a half?
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't see anybody else having a better duo than James Harden and Embiid.
Yeah, no, especially at this point, I agree with both of you guys. There is no duo like them. And the best thing that I saw out of James Harden and Embiid was the fact that James Harden was setting screens for Embiid. There's not many point guards that are willing to do that, and I think it shows how much Harden just wants to win at this point in his career. He already knows he's probably going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He already knows that he has all these other accolades, one of the best three-point shooters of all time. But he wants that ring. He's willing to stick his neck out in any way possible for the Sixers to get in the best position to do that.
Yeah, James Harden has also, in his first 3 games of the Sixers, been a tremendous leader so far for this team in the locker room. You can just tell the overall energy of the team has gone up, and just overall the atmosphere. I mean, the fans are back into the team now, so just overall great news having James Harden on this team, and hopefully it leads to an NBA championship, and I think we have a pretty good chance of doing that. We are going to jump to the Eastern Conference standings. So right now, the Sixers, they still are third in the Eastern Conference. They're 2 games behind the Miami Heat. 21 games remaining in the regular season, so Sixers are coming down to the wire here with games remaining. Sixers, they were number 3 seed after the All-Star break. They're still a number 3 seed. The Heat, they have not been losing many games at all, so kind of hard to catch up ground on that. But we do play the Heat and Bulls coming up here soon. Do you guys think overall we can catch the Miami Heat for that number 1 seed, or do you think the Sixers are going to land somewhere between the top 3 seeds coming up for the postseason?
So the Sixers play the Heat on Saturday, and just looking past the Cavs game, I do think they won that game. But the Heat at top of the East, they did play the Bucks last night, and they did lose. So they are showing that they are beatable. And with the Sixers, the emergence of the big 3 now, 3-0. I like the way if we win against them on Saturday, it will give us a higher chance to pass them in the Eastern Conference. But I think we should look at the seedings overall and if we want to pass them. Because if Brooklyn's fighting for that 8 seed, do we want to play them first round? So as it gets later in the season, we should consider what our best option were for beating the standings.
Yeah, I think if our big 3 is playing the way we're currently playing, and then Tobias Harris steps up a little bit more with his points, I think that we absolutely could finish first, maybe second. But like you just said, we might not want to be first for our advantage in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I think that's something that we will start seeing towards the end of the regular season.
You know, that's definitely a very interesting point that I haven't really considered because I just don't see the Sixers getting there. I think that this big 3 is awesome. I just think that the Heat, with the way that Tyler Hero's been scoring again this year, like he did his rookie year, the way that Jimmy Butler and Bio have been playing, I just think that it's going to be very hard to pass them. But also, you have to remember, like you guys were saying, that you might not want to pass them. The Lakers last year were like the 6th seed, and we're saying, oh, it's fine because the Lakers fans were saying everyone will get healthy. We'll just run through the better teams because we're so much better than them regardless of seeding. They lost like the 2nd round. So I think that seeding really does matter when you're the top seeds. But you want to play teams that are definitely not as good as you are. And I think that that's a good point that you guys brought up.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting point, especially now that the Brooklyn Nets are getting more healthy. You know, Kevin Durant is back tonight. New York City's lifting their vaccine mandate, so Kyrie Irving's going to be able to be available in their home games now. Ben Simmons will be back with the team in a few weeks now. So the Brooklyn Nets are getting healthier, so we'll be a scary team to see in the playoffs, and definitely not a team you want to see in the first round of the playoffs. So playoffs are coming up soon for the Sixers. But first, they have a big 4-game stretch against very good Eastern Conference opponents this next upcoming week. They first face the Cleveland Cavaliers at home, then the Miami Heat, the Bulls, and the Brooklyn Nets. Just pretty much for the top couple teams in the Eastern Conference. I mean, the Cavs are the number 5 seed, the Heat are number 1, Bulls number 2. And like we said, the Nets are the 8th seed in the playing game, but we know the talent that is on that roster currently, and they can definitely turn things around quickly. So how important is it for the Sixers? I know it'll probably be hard to win all 4 of these games, but not only to stay competitive in these games and show that you are on the same level of these also other top teams in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, so there's 2 games I'm looking at on the schedule. First one is the game against the Heat on Saturday because that's the top team in the East. I want to see how we compare against them. And the other one's the Nets. Just because of the fact that the Nets are going to be having Kyrie and Durant back. They haven't had them really in a decent amount of weeks because of Durant's injury. I think that's going to be, both of those games will show you how good Harden and Embiid are together against the top teams in the East.
Yeah, I agree with you. It has to be the Heat and the Nets game. With the Heat being number 1 seed, we are chasing them. And with the Nets, all the drama around the trade at the deadline, I wonder how James Harden will do putting his former team and I'm excited to see how they play together.
I couldn't agree more. You guys said it really good. It's the Heat and the Nets. I mean, the Heat, #1 seed, the Nets being an 8th seed, but having that talent like you're talking about, KD finally coming back. New York City might lift that mandate, so Kyrie might be able to play together with him. I think it's going to be really important to see how James Harden and Embiid play against these really good teams.
I do want to bring up the buyout market real quick, as the Lakers did cut Deandre Jordan. He is a center. You know, the Sixers are needing a backup center currently. They did sign Willie Cauley-Stein to that 10-day contract, but he hasn't got much playing time for the Sixers so far. I know he played in that one blowout game against the Knicks or Timberwolves, I believe. So he did get some action there, but didn't really show much. DeAndre Jordan, a proven veteran, 32 years old, about 7 foot. I mean, he's a good body in the paint. Looks like if he clears the buyout market, no waiver claims are put on him, the 76ers are the front runners to sign DeAndre Jordan. I know he's a little washed now and is on the bottom half of his career, but would you guys be happy to see the Sixers sign DeAndre Jordan as just a little extra backup help? I mean, he'd only be playing around 10 to 12 minutes a game. I mean, it's like you obviously have Joel Embiid, but you just need to come in those backup minutes. I think he'd be a pretty solid guy in that backup role.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, he played with Doc Rivers in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. He's a veteran. He's a grit and grind kind of guy. He gets the rebounds, plays good defense. He is older, but that old experience would help us out in the playoffs. And just coming off the bench, like you said, just 12 minutes a game, just to give Embiid that much needed rest. That's what we really need as a team, and I think it'll be a lot helpful if we go after him in the buyout market.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, with the pace that the Sixers are playing with right now, Embiid looks tired out there at the end of the game. And having a big guy like DeAndre Jordan to come out there, get rebounds, play defense, he doesn't really have to score at all. We have Shake Milton, we got George Niang, Furkan Korkmaz, Go out there, set screens, get rebounds, and play defense. That's all we really need from a big guy coming off the bench.
Yeah, my biggest concern out of the way that things have been going right now is why Doc Rivers isn't playing Willie Cauley-Stein more. I mean, there's really no reason for it. You just would need him to play like 2 or 3 minutes. He's been using Paul Millsap way more. And it seems like that he doesn't want to use a backup center right now, which makes absolutely no sense because when he did DeAndre, when he had, who was it that they had when they traded to the Nets?
Andre Drummond.
When they had Drummond, they were using him a ton, and now they just have stopped using Stein. So I don't understand what the coaching decision is right now with Doc Rivers. I hope that he decides that he needs a backup center because it would really help in the playoffs, but I don't know if that's something that he's going to be willing to do.
Yeah, like Aiden said, we did have Andre Drummond before that James Harden deal, but we did give up some depth in that to acquire James Harden. We gave up Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, 2 very successful pieces for the Sixers earlier in this season. Looking through the first 3 games that James Harden has played now, a lot of critics were saying that the Sixers gave up way too much for James Harden, like saying James Harden's washed, he's older now, injuries that are coming up in his career now. Do you guys think the Sixers gave up too much, or do you think it was just the right amount to get a superstar like James Harden?
Yeah, absolutely not, because Ben Simmons still hasn't played at all. He's not going to come back probably early April at this point. And DeAndre Drummond has barely played any minutes at all. He's scored like 3 points in one of his games and didn't even play at all in the other ones. And the only guy that's been really good for them is Curry, and he's not really a first option at all. And at this point, he has to be because Durant and Kyrie can't play full time. So at this point, I would say that the Sixers easily made off with way more than they should have, because if the Nets were smart, they would have asked for Maxey or Thibault, but one of the Sixers' better players, and they decided not to do that. So we easily won that trade just based off of that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Curry has been great, but Drummond he's just another center you can fill in that role. Harden, you put him right in for Curry with that shooting position, and look what happened. The Sixers are 3-0, so I do not think we lost that trade one bit.
I don't think we lost that trade either. I think to really judge how this trade is going to really unfold is by the end of the season. Mm-hmm. If the Sixers win a championship, we did not give away too much. Now, if the Sixers don't win a championship, now you have to think about the draft picks that we traded and other stuff like that. But right now, James Harden and Joel Embiid are playing phenomenal together, and I think that we gave up just the right amount.
Yeah, I mean, even if they don't win a finals this year, but even if they make it or at least go to the Eastern Conference Finals the following year, where there's a free agent market coming in and you already have pieces like James Harden, Maxey, Matisse, and Embiid under contract, I mean, I think a lot of opportunity lays forward for the Sixers here in the next upcoming seasons. The Sixers their next game is against the Cleveland Cavaliers this Friday night at home. The Cavs are 36-26 on the season, 5th in the Eastern Conference. Darius Garland has been their star player this year at 20 points per game. They do have a couple of rookies on their team that have been contributing a decent amount. So pretty much, I mean, this should be a must-win for the Sixers. I mean, it's at home. They're 3-0 with the James Harden and Embiid combo. You got to think this is a W for the Sixers on Friday night.
Yeah, I 100% agree. The Cavs have been struggling second half of the season, and with the momentum we have right now with Embiid and Harden, I mean, Jared Allen's a good center for the Cavs, but Embiid will just body him all game. And Harden, I can't see anybody really playing good defense enough against him, so I really don't think the Cavaliers have a chance against us.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a big game for Tobias Harris. I think that this game is going to be the first game that he realizes his role with the 76ers and gets those catch and shoot options and shoots it instead of dribble driving. I think this is a big game for Tobias Harris.
I will say Joel Embiid scored 40 points in his first game against the Cavs this season. I hope that we might be able to see the first time where Embiid scores 40 and Harden scores 30. So I'm hopeful for that.
Yeah, it's definitely been a great start for the Embiid Harden combo. Definitely going to keep a look into it. I mean, hopefully they keep this streak going. They're 3-0 right now with the combo. Hopefully going into these next 4 stretch of games, they show really their dominance in the Eastern Conference and win all 4 of these games. We'd be ecstatic, and everyone would be ecstatic in the city of Philadelphia. So that's all we have for 76ers. We are going to move to Philly/MLB talk, as the MLB Owners and Players Association did not come to agreement. So pretty much the MLB season is going to be delayed now. It's not going to start on March 31st as it was supposed to. Pretty much before this deadline happened, there was 16-hour plus conversations. The deal couldn't get agreed upon. Pretty much, I think this is pretty awful for baseball. I mean, this has been a sport that has been dying in the past recent years, between people complaining that the game is too long and the seasons are too long and all that. Just a lot of interest in baseball overall has gone down. And I think especially with this happening now, I mean, this just makes it worse, doesn't it?
No, it definitely does. And the other issue is, too, when you look at it, the owners and the Players Association are so far off that at this point we have no idea when games are going to come back. And I think for fans, the casual fans aren't really going to care about all this arbitration stuff. Very basically, the players are asking for way more money than the owners are willing to give. And when fans hear that, they're just not interested anymore. And diehard fans who understand that these negotiations can take a long time and are somewhat okay with it just want baseball to be back, too. So, yeah, it's a very unfortunate situation.
Yeah, I agree. It hurts the MLB a ton. Like, I remember growing up, I was all into baseball, and then it kind of just disappeared. And that's how it's been for the past 5-6 years. It's just slowly regressing everybody's lives. The long seasons, the long games. It's just, I don't want to say it's boring, but it's not as fun as it used to be. Mm-hmm. And I do think that if the MLB, if the higher-ups do not change this, then I don't think we see baseball in a very long time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, since the owners started canceling games, we're not going to see baseball for a little while. And I don't think they realize how not important baseball is to people. Like, once they see that baseball isn't on, people are going to forget. Mm-hmm. And then once it comes back, the ratings, people going to the games, it's probably not going to be at what it used to be. And it might be even less than what last year was, which wasn't high. And I think that the owners don't realize really what they're doing to themselves right now.
Yeah, I think I also agree to that. I think it's also a frustrating point that if you look back 5 years ago, they knew this conversation and this problem was going to come up. Absolutely. And they pushed it all the way to the last minute, and look where we're at now. I mean, we don't have baseball starting on time for the first time in however many years. And I mean, I think just the age of the generation of people growing up now, I mean, if you look at when we're 50 years old, where will baseball be? I mean, you could be having the same conversation again by the time 20, 30 years from now. I mean, this sport is going to be dramatically changed, in my opinion.
No, definitely. And going back to some of the negotiation points, just seeing how far they are off, one of the biggest things was the pre-arbitration bonus pool, which basically is saying, like, players that are going to arbitration are given a certain amount of money. The owners right now are paying $25 million in that bonus. They wanted to make it $30. The players are asking for $85 million or $80 million, so they're like $55 million off here. And they're also $50 million off on the luxury tax as well. So these are massive numbers that are going to take a long time for both the Players Association and owners to figure out.
Yeah, like I said, it comes down to money at the end of the day. And the longer you wait, the longer you prolong the season, the more money you're going to lose, the lower ratings you're going to be. And once the commissioner and all the owners see that, they're going to go in panic mode and try to strike a deal as soon as possible. And I thought hopefully it comes sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Some of the things that the players are trying to do are actually, they're trying to improve the game of baseball. They're trying to limit tanking, right? They're trying to do a lottery like the NBA has, so that the bottom teams just have a draft lottery. Also, they're trying to limit how many teams make the playoffs. They don't want the playoffs to be something easy that everybody can do, right? So the owners want 14 teams, the players want 13, and the owners aren't budging. So I think the players have a point. You know, you play to get into the playoffs, and if there's too many teams making the playoffs, you know, there's not really like a reward for making the playoffs.
Exactly. Playoffs should be a award, not a cakewalk just to get in the playoffs. I mean, you even saw 2 years ago when they first implemented that rule and added the extra playoff teams, the Phillies, they still couldn't even make the playoffs. So didn't even help us in the Philadelphia Phillies' favor. But overall, hopefully they get out of this lockout soon, because I know many of us want to see Philadelphia Phillies and just MLB baseball in general again. So looking, I know you guys probably saw Bryce Harper posted a picture on social media, potentially going overseas to play for a Japanese baseball league. Overall, what do you guys think your thoughts are on this? Would you be happy for Bryce Harper? I mean, Bryce loves baseball, and you know he's probably got to be itching to get back on the field right now. I mean, I don't think he'll do it, but at the same time, I really wouldn't be surprised if Bryce Harper went overseas to play some baseball during this lockout.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope he's joking. I really hope it's all a shadow throughout the league. Just like, because Bryce Harper, ever since he came to Philadelphia, he's been the heart and soul of our team. He's the heart and soul. His voice, he's a two-time MVP, one of the best players we've seen in a while. And if he goes overseas, a lot of people will follow him. And that shows how much MLB doesn't really impact. It's just people love to play the game of baseball. But if he is serious, and I know how much he does love baseball, if he goes overseas, he will do great there either way, and I'll still support him.
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, I think, first off, it's going to be good for him just to get live at-bats, right? So when the MLB does come back, he's already fresh. But also, he's going to make new Phillies fans, right? He's going to go to Japan, and all of a sudden, the Phillies are going to have a ton of new fans from Japan. I love it. I think he should do it. It's going to make him ready for the season.
I think it would be awesome if he did. He's definitely not going to do it. He's getting paid way too much by the Phillies for him to go to Japan to get hurt for a long period of time. It would be a bad idea for him to do it financially. I do understand the point that he's trying to make, though, that the players do need to come back and play baseball because it's what they love to do.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with Bryce Harper. I don't think he'll go over to Japan, but like Matt said, probably just teasing at the MLB a little bit. Let's get a deal done here so I can get back on the diamond. After the buyout, hopefully after this delay, free agency opens back up for the MLB. And there's a few holes on the Phillies roster right now, and a few positions that they could fill is Kyle Schwarber, who's first baseman / outfielder, and Chris Bryant, who's a third baseman / outfielder. Both very good free agents. You know, Chris Bryant and Bryce Harper have a great relationship together. How happy would you guys be to see one of these guys in a Phillies jersey, or even both of them?
I would love to see Chris Bryant in a Phillies jersey. I think that he is one of the best players in the MLB. You can put him anywhere on the field. He's going to do well. And he's got a big bat, a really, really big bat. And another, like I said, you can put him anywhere, right? So if somebody goes down in the outfield, you can put him in the outfield. If somebody goes down at third base, you put him at third. If Reese goes down at first, you can stick him at first. He's a great, great utility guy with a big bat.
Yeah, completely agree. And hopefully this MLB lockout is done soon, as we want baseball back, and a lot of other people do too. We are going to hop into Fast Five now. First one we're going to go to is This Week in Basketball with Aiden Cicsinski.
Yeah, so Saturday might have been February 27th, but it felt like March Madness because the top 6 teams for the first time ever in college basketball history all lost on the same day. Biggest loss out of all of them was number 1 Gonzaga, losing to, I think at that point, unranked St. Mary's. St. Mary's and Gonzaga have a great rivalry in the WAC. Gonzaga usually is able to win out of that one, so it was very shocking to see them go down. The other big news is that the team that I've been pulling for all year, Baylor, who I said was probably going to have the best chance of winning this year, was number 10 starting on Saturday. They beat Kansas, moved all the way up to number 3 at this point. Just an awesome win. And the final thing, out of the top 7 teams, the only team that won was Duke, who is playing this Saturday, Mike Krzyzewski's last game against North Carolina. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be electric. Can't wait for it.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that Duke game. I mean, Coach K has obviously been one of the best coaches in college basketball. It's going to be great for the last home game to be against North Carolina, too. I mean, what a perfect ending to a great career for him. Next question we're going to go to Matt for this one. Will the Los Angeles Lakers make the playoffs? And we know they've been struggling a lot this season.
Yeah, the Lakers is probably one of the biggest disappointments of the NBA. They have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They will get that play-in, and I do think they will sneak in. You can never bet against LeBron James. And with Anthony Davis getting healthy and Russell Westbrook hopefully finding his groove, I do like the Lakers to sneak in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the last time the Lakers missed the playoffs was LeBron's first year with the Lakers when a few injuries happened, but definitely would be crazy to see not LeBron James in the playoffs this year. Next question, we're going to go to Aiden Davis-Diaz for this one. Thoughts on Kyle Murray's agent's letter, pretty much to the Arizona Cardinals and the fan base over there?
Well, first, I think it was a little inappropriate to use social media to talk about his contract. But second, and most importantly, I think it's really premature to start talking about his contract only in his third year. If you look at guys like Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield, these guys are in their fourth going into their fifth years, and they don't have a contract extension yet, right? And I think the Arizona Cardinals are trying to build first around Kyler Murray and then pay him. I just think it's premature and inappropriate to discuss that over social media instead of just going to the owners directly.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's a very messy situation over there in Arizona. We were just talking about the MLB lockout, but we're going to go back to Aiden Tusinski with this one. Just overall, how important is it for you, for the MLB to get out of this lockout in general?
No, it's very important. I think the owners have to understand that they are completely in the wrong for this entire situation. The players are trying to do everything they can to improve the game. They're the ones that are trying to reach out and try to figure out, and the owners wait till the last minute to set up these negotiations. Anyone defending the owners at this point just doesn't understand what's happening right now, and it's really just hurting the game overall.
Yeah, I completely agree. Next and final question we're going to go to is New York City plans to phase out their employee vaccine mandate. As we all know, Kyrie Irving, point guard for the Brooklyn Nets, is not vaccinated, has been out for a majority of the season because of that, just because of that rule in New York City. I mean, he has been allowed to play in away games, but at home games he's not been allowed. Probably one of the main reasons the Brooklyn Nets are the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference right now, especially with the injury of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving not being able to play in half their games. It's just been a mess over there. But this rule getting lifted is huge for the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, having Kyrie Irving for 100% of your games, unless they go over to Toronto for a game, I mean, that's just awesome news for the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, you're getting Kevin Durant back from injury as well. I think overall the Brooklyn Nets, they're heading up, and they may be in a play-in game, but they're definitely going to make some noise in the playoffs, especially if they're healthy. And I think it's a big deal having Kyrie back, especially from that rule. Well, that's all we have for Fast 5, and that's all we have for Sports Talk Philadelphia today. But thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Don't forget to follow us on our social media on Twitter and Instagram at Sports Talk LTV. And thanks for coming through and watching again. And we'll make sure to update you guys more on Philadelphia Pro Sports next week on the next episode. Thanks again.